Good day, everyone. I'm Angel Mendiza, and I'm here to present to you about the curriculum response of higher education for teacher education amidst the pandemic and beyond. We have three questions for our discussion today. First question: what are the emerging challenges in the flexible teaching and learning modality during the time of pandemic? We all know that many countries are still adjusting with the different modalities as an alternative to the face-to-face mode of teaching and learning. In this time of pandemic, it is really evident that the existence of emerging challenges both on the part of the teachers and of the students and parents. Flexible teaching and learning modality has been implemented throughout the world for students to obtain their education amidst the breakout of COVID-19. The pandemic shut down schools and we all don't have a choice but to cope with it. Flexible teaching and learning modality have their pros and cons, but the problem is that the negative effects mostly outweigh the positives, right? Being this time of pandemic, a lot of challenges were being met in the process. I mean, from the gadget itself, there are so many related problems unexpectedly. From the internet connection, data, and even stability of the phone, laptop, or computer that the student has. And of course, as for what I am observing, learning assessments and evaluations will not be perfectly met or done because being in a virtual class, there are so many ways for the students to cheat. And also the misuse of technology become one of the issues today because no one is ready enough with this crisis. Students and teachers are not properly oriented and trained in terms of technological aspects. Even me, I'm not literate when it comes to gadget and I don't have enough knowledge about ICT. Based on my experience, not all teachers are skilled in facilitating a technology-based class. The proof is that some modules being distributed are not properly crafted. Same student cases as well. We're all aware that not all students have their gadgets for them to join the class. Some students are forced to stop studying because they cannot buy and they cannot even rent gadgets for educational purposes. However, for those who have gadgets, still the equipment and hardware malfunctions can be a great deterrent to the effectiveness of learning. For instance, if a student was currently presenting her report, then her laptop malfunction, the entire class will be affected. So negative impacts are seen in the technicality of the actual usage since technologies will not always be efficient. Moreover, being taught online learning can cause social isolation and can cause students to not develop needed communication skills and potentials. So the second question is, what would institutions do to ensure curriculum continuity in teacher education? The additional challenges in education brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic, the Philippine Department of Education or DepEd adopted a Learning Continuity Plan or LCP that aims to ensure the safety and well-being of learners, teachers, and personnel and the continuity of the learning. The institutions concerned to the education are really doing their best to modify and craft for different strategies and ways on how to continuously give importance to the education. We can see those efforts through the different curriculums being implemented in order to continue the education no matter how hard it is because of this unseen enemy. In fact, the existence of different modalities being implemented in education can be a basis or a piece of evidence that curriculum continuity is ensured having the COVID-19 pandemic. So last question is, when you become a teacher, which teaching delivery will you use during pandemic and why? When I become teacher in the future, I will use the combinations of modular, asynchronous, and synchronous learning as a teaching delivery during a pandemic. I can't use just one strategy because I know that students should have the same status. In terms of financial aspects, some come up with immediately inflexible and online learning. since they have the luxury, but I'm sure that other students cannot. The teaching delivery that I will use will depend upon my student capacity and capability of learning. I will do my best to be flexible and innovative enough in providing my students' needs, even if it's hard. First, I will use printed modules for those students who don't have internet connectivity. Nowadays, many elementary and secondary schools use a modular approach as a teaching modality. Learners under this can also use other sources such as learners' materials, textbooks, activity sheets, study guides, and other study materials. As I observe, it is the most used mode of teaching today since many Filipinos don't have stable internet and data connectivity at home. Furthermore, I will use asynchronous learning for those who have limited connection. Asynchronous learning is useful because it does not require real-time interaction. In this teaching, the lesson content is available online for students to access when it best suits their schedules. Additionally, in asynchronous, I will be able to help the child to be stress-free despite having this pandemic because asynchronous learning is somewhat much easier for them and the learner can set their own timetable and travel at their own speed without much pressures to them. Lastly will be synchronous learning. This teaching delivery will be given especially for those who have excellent internet connectivity. There will be real-time teaching and learning using online platforms. In this teaching delivery, I will make use of the educational video conferences, interactive webinars, or chat-based online discussions. So, therefore, when I become a teacher, I will use the blended modular, synchronous, and synchronous learning approach as a teaching delivery during a pandemic. For the reason that if most of my students don't have internet connection, I will prefer modular learning. Asynchronous learning if most of them have limited internet connection, and synchronous learning if most of them have excellent connection. I will make sure that during the first class meeting or session, I gathered data about my students' ability to study, because each student is respected as a unique individual and given the freedom to pursue the learning modality that they can avail. I am a product of new normal education and I experienced the hardship in coping with it. That's why I will be careful with my action and I will think about the welfare of my students first and foremost. So that would be all. I hope that there's something you get from it. So thank you for watching and God bless.